Mercury retrograde in birth chart. Mercury is the planet of communication, the planet of expression, the planet of your intellect, the planet of the buddhi. So, the man, buddhi and ahankar in Sankhya philosophy form the basis of picking out a new physical vessel for the soul to manifest in from one lifetime to the next. It is said that the soul cannot be distributed, destroyed, fragmented. The soul is just an expression. The Atman is just an expression of the Paramatman. Okay? But the man, buddhi and ahankar, that is the mind, the intellect and the ego, they, however, exist as distinctive records attached to each soul, each individual. And so when you die, for the soul to be able to complete its journey and to be able to grow through the next set of experiences that it requires to merge into the divine, the task of finding a new vessel is delegated to the man, buddhi and ahankar. Okay? So the buddhi and Buddha, Mercury, corresponds to buddhi. If you draw this correlation, what you get to know is that definitely individuals who have Mercury retrograde in their birth chart are here in this lifetime to grow through learning, to grow through language, to grow through interactions. These people can be slow early on in life in terms of, grasping concepts, maybe talking, maybe expressing themselves. And in general as well, it's quite possible that up to the age of 30, these people may have kind of like a slow growth curve in the sense that they don't really know what they want to do or express into their world. Okay? They don't know what their most authentic expression is. But it is through these obstacles, these, confusing circumstances, often with a lack of clarity and information, they are able to develop these mercurial traits about them significantly in their life. Okay, so Mercury retrograde is a placement where the individual often has to face a lot of important life situations where their intellect is growing, they're learning something new, but it is happening in somewhat unfortunate ways. For example, let's say Mercury retrograde can make an individual who develops a great accounting software, okay, something that is a hit in the market. But you go into the history of this person, how he came about creating a software like that, and you find out that early on, in his life, his father probably ran a business and, he died, and the business at a very young age needed to be managed by this individual. As a result of that, there were a lot of compliances problems that he ran into. He was not able to manage the books pretty well. He got into trouble with the, IRS, right? And probably he had to do some jail time as well, etc., etc. Long story short, fast forward, as a result of all of that suffering because of the lack of that knowledge, the lack of that proper information, what this person had to suffer through, this person ends up creating something completely different that solves that problem once and for all. Okay, so Mercury retrograde has a lot of the themes of inventions, of discoveries attached to it. Now, it's probably the most popular retrograde placement that we talk about in Vedic astrology and even in Western astrology in general. Every time Mercury is going retrograde, everybody is doing all kinds of things and blaming it on Mercury. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It just it was just Mercury retrograde, things like that. Quite often, it happens also with individuals that, they end up saying stupid things. You see a lot of, secrets come out, weird gaffes being committed when Mercury goes retrograde. Why does that happen? Okay, what's really the truth behind it? Should you really be, trying to stay as silent as possible whenever Mercury goes retrograde? No. See, Mercury retrograde means there is an excess. Whenever a planet is retrograde, what that essentially means is that planet is stronger in your birth chart compared to other planets, unless they are also retrograde, and then you have to look at how deeply retrograde they are. But if a planet is retrograde in the same placement, in the same nakshatra, compared to a planet which is not retrograde, it is a bit more powerful, because retrograde planets, they appear brighter in the sky. Okay, so their influence is felt more in the karma of that person, and also in general in our world whenever it's happening in the sky. So that excess of that mercurial energy can cause you to reveal information that you would otherwise withhold, or have to go through circumstances where you are perfecting something by having to repeat it. Okay, but it definitely also has this energy attached to it of completing something that you had pending karma to communicate. For example, it's quite possible that you were trying to write a book, you were working on it, and just not able to release it. In Mercury retrograde, finally, you are able to wrap up everything in a way that this is it, this is done. Okay, or let's say there was some sort of error in something related to your books, accounts, or your personal statements, any personal detail, maybe like maybe some kind of a bank statement, or maybe insurance, something related to that. And Mercury retrograde comes, and suddenly, you're just going through everything, and you're like, whoa, I overpaid for this there. I mean, what did they charge me for over there? And then you call the bank and you say you made an error. They're like, wow, we did make an error. Sorry, let me compensate you for that. So Mercury retrograde does not always mean the retrograde energy hits at you in a way that you end up losing as a result of it. Quite often, it can bring back whatever karma is there for you to enjoy, to balance the scales. Okay? But in the chart, whenever Mercury is retrograde, you can definitely see from the individual's viewpoint with respect to their life paths that the truth is often withheld from them. It could be about let's say Mercury retrograde in the first house can show that a person wakes up to the truth of their potential, their skill a little late in life, around about 31 when Mercury matures. Okay, and early part, they were probably living as a completely different version of themselves. Their entire ideology was, let's say, focused on the wrong tangent. And then Mercury retrograde with time shows that, look, this is what you had to learn. Now, flip your view and look at life in a different way. Okay, Mercury retrograde in the 10th house in the same way can show that a person may be caught in a job, let's say as a lawyer, or let's say as a banker, or as an accountant, doing a lot of repetitive work in a way that probably they did not enjoy, probably they did not want to. But it's just that, like how they say that, once you become an accountant for the mob, you can never quit. Okay, because you just can't quit. You know everything, you know their books. So in the same way, like in a more serious way, it could be like you start a company and you're the CFO of that company, and your best friend is the CEO, let's say, and your sister is the COO. You didn't really want this for the rest of your life, but you can't really bail on the two most important people in your life. So therefore, you're stuck being that, you're stuck in that role, stuck doing those things. It can quite often be. But this is where, these people with this energy, let's say you have Mercury retrograde in the 10th, or any place for that matter, through encountering those circumstances continuously, you start inventing, you start innovating, you start staying ahead of the curve. Okay, so if you have Mercury retrograde in, let's say, the 10th house, it is quite possible that as soon as you heard about ChatGPT, you were like, okay, let me apply this right away. Let me see what it can do for me. As soon as you heard of podcasting, you were like, okay, this is it. This is what I've got to start experimenting. Alternatively, it can also be that you had a lot of resistance and a lack of knowledge for the things that you could do to grow your career, right? But always, eventually, whenever planet is retrograde, It creates that energy of putting that individual finally from that point of lack to a point of staying at the forefront of that energy. Okay, it's a very intellectualized energy. Mercury retrograde, it by no way means that you will suffer from, nervous problems, or that you will be stupid, or that you will be crazy, or anything of that sort. No, not at all. You have to look at a lot of other things, for that purpose. But yes, it will show that the individual is going to develop a high intellect, not necessarily wisdom, because Mercury is intellect, high level of intellect, through having to go through some sort of challenges in life. Okay, I can, to be honest, in keeping with mercurial energy, I can keep going on and on and on and on. Okay, so we have to put a stop somewhere, because Mercury retrograde can be great writers, they can be great novelists, it can be everything. Okay, long story short, Mercury retrograde is the energy of some karma associated with your throat chakra. Being able to know and speak the authentic truth. That is what Mercury retrograde is. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so that you can stay abreast of all the wonderful content that I post here. Push the bell icon so that you can be notified of every single time I post. If you want a personal session with me, you can check out the link given here in the description box. Also, if you want to read the latest articles across 8 different categories, from self-help to yoga, business, entrepreneurship, healing, Vedic astrology and occult, do not forget to check out the Coach Kaushal website, the Coach Kaushal magazine, which is our blog curated by some of the best, writers, and just for you guys. Do check it out. I also write over there, by the way. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care. Hari Om.